Thanks for joining us on the Poetry Spotlight. Let's get lost in some beautiful writing.
Yeah, let's do it.
Today, we're jumping into a really potent little poem. It's The Garden of Love by William Blake.
Ah, Blake, a fascinating figure.
Totally. Born in London, 1757, died 1827. An artist, a poet, kind of visionary, really. Wasn't exactly mainstream in his day, was he?
No, not at all. He was, pretty much an outlier. While everyone else was focused on reason, Blake was all about imagination, spirituality, even visions.
Right.
And this poem, The Garden of Love, comes from his Songs of Experience. That's important because Experience was Blake's more critical, maybe disillusioned look at the world compared to his earlier Songs of Innocence.
A contrast.
Exactly. And he was definitely questioning things, especially organized religion, which back then was pretty rebellious. That context really helps understand where this poem is coming from.
Okay, so let's unpack this poem then. Let's see how Blake takes us on this journey through a garden that's, well, it's changing. A changing landscape of love and freedom. First, let's just hear it. I'll read The Garden of Love. Try to feel that shift in tone as we go.
Okay.
I went to the Garden of Love and saw what I never had seen. A chapel was built in the midst, where I used to play on the green. And the gates of this chapel were shut, and thou shalt not writ over the door. So I turned to the Garden of Love, that so many sweet flowers bore. And I saw it was filled with graves, and tombstones where flowers should be, and priests in black gowns were walking their rounds, and binding with briars my joys and desires.
Wow. Yeah, even just hearing it read, it's quite something.
It really is. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
What's immediately striking, I mean, this shift, this transformation of a place he knew, what are we actually seeing when the speaker goes back to this Garden of Love?
Well, simply put, he goes back to a place he remembers fondly, right? A place associated with play, with freedom, where I used to play on the green. Sounds idyllic.
Like childhood innocence.
Exactly. But instead of that open, joyful space, boom, there's a chapel right in the middle of it. Something new, something imposed.
And that line, saw what I never had seen. It just screams surprise, doesn't it? But then it feels like it slides right into disappointment. Words like chapel was built, gates were shut.
Instantly, the surprise turns sour very fast. That chapel appearing is the first shock, and then the locked gates.
Yeah.
That's just reinforcing it.
And what about that phrase over the door, thou shalt not?
Oh, yeah. That's heavy. It's a direct quote, basically, from the Ten Commandments. It immediately brings in this whole idea of rules, restriction, prohibition, things you cannot do.
Right, and the Garden of Love.
The irony is thick, isn't it? Love is meant to be freeing, open. But here, bang, you have this huge keep out sign, essentially, from religious authority. It completely sets this tone of dismay. Freedom's been shut down.
And the garden itself, Garden of Love, capitalized like that. It feels important, almost like an Eden, a place of natural joy.
That's a great connection. To suggest this ideal state, a place of innocence, maybe natural desire, before the rules came in. The capitalization definitely elevates it beyond just a patch of grass.
Okay, so we have this initial shock, this restriction, but then the poem takes an even darker turn, right? He mentions the sweet flowers the garden used to have. What happens to them?
Yeah, he turns back, sort of hoping maybe the garden itself is still okay. He remembers it bearing so many sweet flowers. That's the image of life, beauty, natural growth.
Oh.
But it's gone. Instead, he sees it filled with graves and tombstones where flowers should be. I mean, that imagery is just brutal.
Yeah.
Life, beauty, nature, all replaced by death, decay, memorials to what's lost. The flowers, symbols of natural joy and maybe desire, are literally dead and buried.
It's like a graveyard of joy.
Precisely. A complete inversion of what the garden represented.
And then there are figures actually in this graveyard garden. Who are these guys walking around?
Right. The priests in black gowns were walking their rounds. The description makes them sound, well, not very friendly. Walking their rounds. Sounds like guards patrolling, doesn't it? Keeping watch. And the black gowns. That reinforces the somber, deathly mood. It's formal, maybe authoritarian, definitely oppressive. They're like the enforcers of this new, grim reality.
The agents of the thou shalt not.
Exactly. They're making sure nothing natural or joyful springs back up, it seems.
Okay, so connecting this up. What are these priests actually doing there? The poem says they're binding with briars my joys and desires. This feels like the core of it. What's Blake really getting at here? What's the big message?
That final image is so powerful. binding with briars. Briars are thorny, painful things. They restrict, they scratch, they hurt.
Not like the sweet flowers.
Not at all. And they are actively binding, tying up, restricting the speaker's personal joys and desires, his happiness, his natural impulses, his passions.
So the message seems pretty clear then.
I think so. It's Blake's critique, plain and simple, of organized religion, or at least the way he saw the church operating. He felt it imposed rigid rules and focused on prohibition, on guilt and fear, rather than encouraging genuine, natural human love and freedom.
So the chapel, the priests, the rules that aren't nurturing life, they're actively killing it.
That's what he's arguing, that these institutions, with their focus on controlling behavior and suppressing natural desires, end up destroying the very innocence and joy they claim to protect. They turn the vibrant garden of life into a place of death and restriction.
And it's amazing how he does this with such, straightforward language. The words themselves, chapel, gates, graves, priests, briars, they're simple, but put together like this.
It's incredibly effective. The simplicity, the diction, as you say, makes the critique feel very direct, very stark. There's no fancy wordplay hiding the message.
And the structure, too, those 3 simple stanzas, 4 lines each, the rhymes. It has this almost song-like feel, but like a really sad song.
Yeah, like a lament or a dark ballad. The regular rhythm, the quatrains, the rhymes, it gives it this sense of inevitability, maybe. Like the sad transformation just unfolds step by step. It makes the somber theme even more resonant.
So, okay, wrapping this deep dive up, the Garden of Love really shows Blake making this powerful statement. He's saying rigid institutions, specifically the church as he saw it, can take places of natural joy, of innocence, and twist them into these places of restriction, sorrow, actually actively binding up our joys and desires.
Absolutely. It's a journey from that playful green to, well, a graveyard of the human spirit. Blake really wanted to make people think, didn't he?
Yeah.
To question how freedom, how the spirit can get suppressed. Not necessarily by outside enemies, but by rules, by systems of control that maybe we accept too easily. He's pushing us to ask, are we nurturing love and understanding, or are we letting fear and rules take over?
It feels like a call to hold on to that natural joy, that capacity for love.
Exactly. To not let it get paved over with tombstones and bound up with briars. It's about embracing life, really.
So maybe something for you to think about as you go about your day. Think about your own gardens. Not just literal gardens, but those places inside you, your ideas, emotions, where you look for joy and freedom. Are they thriving? Are there sweet flowers growing there? Or have maybe some thou shalt nots from outside, or maybe even from inside yourself started creeping in, started casting shadows?
Yeah, there are places where maybe tombstones stand where flowers should be.
Right. What does it really take for you to cultivate a life, an inner space where your joy and your desires can actually be unbound, something to chew on?
Definitely.
Well, that's all for today's Poetry Spotlight. Hit like for the poem that speaks to you and subscribe for the ones yet to come.